Okay, I got my brother here, and he's got his, what are they?
Feeler gauges.
Feeler gauges. And so these are precision machined. And he's got a, wait, you're using a feeler gauge.
This is a feeler gauge.
And that's a 2,000ths.
Yeah, 2,000.
Feeler gauge. And so what we're trying to determine is if there's any section, any 20 to 50 millimeter section at all, where we can get a 2,000ths feeler gauge under this this precision machined piece of metal. And so far, across the whole thing, like, what's the closest that you've gotten?
I'll bet this is 1.5 right here.
Okay.
Just right in this section.
So, I mean, there are definitely a couple spots where we can see a little bit of gap, which is why I have the flashlight there, just to be able to see any, any discrepancies. But so far, it looks like nothing is exceeding the manufacturer spec or the tolerance for it. And so the other one is max warpage across the sealing surface lengthwise, widthwise, and diagonal. And then the threshold for that is 4,000ths. So that said, while scraping this, I did notice two potential areas that I'm a little concerned with. One of them is right here, and I'm not sure if that's a just an imperfection in the casting. It looks like some pitting, or if that's legitimately a crack. So that's kind of a question mark right there. So, and with the camera and zoomed in, it does look a little bit like a crack, and that would be between the coolant and it looks like is that this isn't even anywhere that to tell if that's somewhere that combustion gases would be able to make it into the cooling system. This doesn't go anywhere. So even if there is a little hairline crack here, it doesn't look like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense how that would be causing a problem. And then over here, right here by this, for this little dowel pin, just to get the head lined up on the block, there also seems to be a little raised spot there. But other than that, there's kind of nothing visible. So just using these tools is giving me a little bit more confidence that we should be able to put it back together and get away without having to get in line for the one machine shop here in town that's backlogged for probably months. Oops. Okay,
Not
so
there, but right there.
So we do have one section right here, where the 2,000ths feeler gauge,
it barely goes,
is just able,
it's just right.
Just able to make it under.
I have a 2.5 we could try. Goes under fine.
So 1.5 is going under.
Here's the 2.
And I'm gonna come around so I can.
The 2 there, it's fine. Here, right by that edge, it slides under. There, it's good. Here's 2.5. It doesn't go under.
So we're right dancing on the line of.
Yeah. between 2 and 2.5 right there.
And that's the only, like, what's the next worst spot that you've seen?
There's another spot. Nope, not there. Nope. Nope. I don't know now.
Okay. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
it's okay.
but it was less than 2.
Okay. So the question is, do I roll the dice? I'm putting it back together with one spot, and the spot that is, it more seems like it's right on the other edge of where the gasket mark is, and you can almost feel it, as if you were saying that you thought maybe when it was tightened together, like it almost pressed
It's
in.
like an indentation almost.
So that's what I gotta figure out, is if it's close enough to the line. What would you do?
Well, I don't know. I might just put a new gasket on it.
That's what I'd like to do,
Yeah.
because I mean, the machine shop in town, probably at least a 2-month wait, and I'm guessing with the complexity of this edge, all the extra cuts they'd have to, it's not just like a single clean pass they can make, like, or whatever. It's more complex than just a flat, like, so
The last
we're talking
guy I talked to, he said the guy had like 200 engines ahead of him in line.
I think I'm gonna put it back together and send it. Okay, so in summary, everybody, so what you just saw in that video was my brother helping me out. He has a set. This is not the set he was using. This is just so you guys know what these are. So he was using a precision machined parallel set, and we were using a feeler gauge to be able to check the tolerances, across the surface of the cylinder head. So again, this is not what we were using. This is just so you can get a reference as to what these were. But and my brother gets, I mean, he's got lathes, like he's really into machining. He could potentially he'd have the ability to do the head, himself. So just so you know, like my brother he's extremely talented. I've tried to get him. I've tried to tell him that he needs to start showing people what he's doing. I mean, he's building a race car in his garage out of old Audi 1.8T and a Chevy Love truck. I mean, it's pretty crazy what he's doing, and he's one of the most talented people I've ever known. But anyway, so he helped me with this. So it's flipped over right now, and I feel vindicated after yesterday, because what we found is that there was one spot on this cylinder head that so the tolerances that we're looking for were no deviations greater than 4 thousandths across the entire dimensions of the block, but in any 20 to 50 millimeter area, not to have any deviation greater than 2 thousandths. And so what we actually found, or really my brother with his parallel set and with a couple different sets of feeler gauges just to check for accuracy, or I mean, just to check them against each other, is that right in this location, which aligns with what would be the hottest part of the engine, I believe, based on the location of the turbo. And I'm just gonna flip this over just to show you exactly where the spot was. Let's see here. I'm trying to see. Okay, so you see where I marked right there in red? So that's the location when I flip this over. That is the only spot that we found on this entire thing that was out of spec. And it was out of spec. So again, spec would have been 2 thousandths. It was like 2 1/4 thousandths. So right there in that area. Well, in that video of me that I recorded, that you saw when I was undoing these head bolts, there was one bolt that was loose. I would consider it loose because every other bolt that I removed on this head, it was almost painful to my joints. Like it took that much force to undo. Giving away yeah, I'm getting old, but it was this bolt right here. Well, guess what? That corresponds to approximately right here, where the one single low spot or high spot, if this is flipped over, would be. In addition, and I still don't have an explanation for this, when I was doing the compression testing on cylinder 2, I saw something different that I didn't see on any of the others. And I don't know if you guys could see it in the video because the camera was pointed up at the gauge, but I saw some smoke when we did the cylinder 2 test. And I still don't understand it because the system should be sealed. But everything is kind of pointing to cylinder 2. So what I believe happened was the guy that had the car before me kind of let the cooling system just go, you know, it failed, right? There was a failure, and because it wasn't addressed properly, that failure cascaded into every other bit of the cooling system in this vehicle. So whether it started with just a cracked water pump or and then it was compounded by mixing you know, the wrong types of coolant, causing sludge to form in the whole system, blowing out the heater core, filling the radiator with sludge, overworking the fan. I replaced all those components. I replaced the water pump. I replaced the heater core. I changed out the radiator just once I saw what a mess it was in there. I did have to, I did replace this fan. So anyways, we know that this thing got hot. I know it got hot. It got hot enough to damage the gasket that I showed in another video right here, causing an additional problem of oil coolant mixing in this part of the system. And I believe in the test that we saw where this is overflowing, that due to a thermal event, probably in the hottest part of the engine, that the block, the head expanded. It pressed against that gasket, creating that divot that we see. And because these are stretch bolts, torque to spec, and then additional turn afterwards, that the spec was compromised, and that after the engine block returned to a normal temperature, maybe some shrinkage occurred back down to, I'm not sure. But after that event, that bolt was never the same. It was loose. So now you have a combination of just, a quarter of a thousandth whatever the right way to say that is, out of spec, combined with now a bolt that's not holding the head down with the clamping force that it should be. And what that created is a small pocket for combustion gases to travel back through right here into the cooling system. So, am I going to roll the dice? I'd really like to get this car back on the road for my son. There's some pressure. I don't know what's going on at his mom's house, how, you know, what kind of situation they're in where he really needs the car, but it sounds like he really needs it. At the same time, this is a lot of work. I mean, the whole thing's kind of torn apart. For somebody like me, you know, just working on this, you know, in the evenings, when I get a chance, you know, after work and on the weekends. I mean, this is big. And, you know, if you don't have tools, some space, like, you know, this, for me, this isn't something you can just knock out in a day. So what does that mean? Well, if I need to pay a few $100s to take this thing to a machinist and, you know, have them take it down and get it back into actual manufacturer spec versus what I believe is probably otherwise like a 50-50 chance. Like I'm fairly confident that because the tolerance is so small that I could put it back together. And I think with a new gasket combined with a bolt actually being torqued to spec, as long as the engine's not overheated again, and since I've addressed the cooling issues, I don't think it would. But there's always going to be that lingering, you know, is it compromised? Is it a weak spot? Yeah, it'll always probably be a weak spot until it's actually fixed and brought back into manufacturer spec. So that's where I'm at. Gonna, you know, toy around with some tools and maybe show you guys, you know, how to pull out. And, you know, I'm kind of learning myself, but I'm gonna do one and then show one kind of thing of how to replace these seals and get these valves and stuff cleaned up. Because I think if I take the block over to the shop, like I'll probably take all this stuff out and just put it all back in, you know, myself once it's back. So, so right now that's the plan. See if I can get in touch with the machine shop. So thanks for the advice and comments and, you know, encouragement of the people that have been watching along the way. Hopefully this helps somebody and it shows that, you know, it does look scary and it is scary, but this is totally doable. I believe it's totally doable. When I'm done, and maybe at some point, like I'll make a list of what you actually absolutely need and probably talk about stretch bolts and planning because there's so many of them on this platform. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully there's more good stuff to come. So thanks again. We'll see you in the next one. All right. So this is my first time using one of these. Like I said, this is probably, in reality, this is probably one of the first things I should have done. So let's just hope. I'm just hoping for the best here. This is going to be like kind of devastating for me and my son if it turns out that this thing needs a head gasket, which I mean, what I do know is this thing was overheated, right? So, all right. And the guy before this, I don't know, they didn't figure out the coolant leak for a long time. Right, so here goes. All right, folks, quick recap. So, I had to go back and do a little bit of research because I was getting conflicting information from the interwebs. So, let this be a lesson to all about taking AI results at face value. Because what I found was that you know, my initially when I just did a quick Google search of what's acceptable, you know, PSI for a compression test on this car, I got those numbers I showed you before. There was like 160 to 200, which is not wrong. Those are good numbers. But you know, so the numbers that we got again was this: cylinder 1, 145, cylinder 2, 140, cylinder 3, 135, cylinder number 4, 140. So first, having recently done a compression test on my little brother's Mazda 3 for his kids, it's like an 04 with 170,000 miles. That thing was doing 175 PSI. So I was kind of thinking for this Golf, granted similar miles, 10 years newer, you know, but doing 30 less PSI than an old Mazda / Ford, you know, it seemed bad. Not true. So Google, you know, Google's free version of AI says that these numbers are a problem, that they're lower than they should be, indicates significant wear. Chat GPT, which I do pay for the smart. So before I lift these cams out, I just wanted to get a good shot of what everything looks like. Set aside the intake and the exhaust. And I'm happy to see the one that I was worried about looks just fine. You know, from where I didn't put any lubricant on when I was tired. So well, I'll give you another shot now that I've pulled those cams off. I sure hope this thing works soon. Alrighty, folks. It is Friday. I'm back on the car again. Last night I got the camshafts and the cam cover out. Place is a mess. I got tools everywhere. My box is getting a little cooler because I got these little magnet mats. But I'm about to pull out these two T30s here and then start the sequence of moving the cylinder head bolts. And the book wants you to do kind of an interesting sequence. So it wants you to go top left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or something like that. Here, I'll show you. That's what they want you to do. Right. So that's what we're gonna try and do, because again, I don't know exactly why. I'm not a real mechanic. I'm just a guy trying to get a car working. And so let's get going. the Cambridge stuff. And now, so I figure I've been trying to use this little cheap Castleman set for most of this work. So I'm gonna continue with that trend. So let's see here, I'm gonna start on the first one. My 3/8 inch drive. And you know what, maybe it'd be better. Kind of feeling like it'd be better not to use such a long extension. And I'm also feeling it might be better to use a breaker bar because these feel like they're really on there. So I like my tools. I think the gear wrenches are plenty strong, but I don't see a need to put them through more than is necessary. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go back to, what am I gonna try here? I'm gonna go back to my ratchet. Oh. And I'm gonna adapt down. I'm gonna use a bigger bar. Find my adapter. So we're definitely putting these little Castlemans to the test here. There we go. Slowly starting to get them to turn. Okay. Man, look at that. Kind of pretty. All right. Pause the video and just make sure I'm not missing anything before I continue. All right, so that's 7 so far. 8. So this one. That one is not as tight. It's kind of interesting. I don't really want anything interesting. All right. So 9 is the middle